Tim.
What's up?
Welcome to the show. So you sent me a photograph en route, or I guess just after arriving here, and you had a gi on, open, and blood running down your face.
Yeah.
So where were you, and what happened?
I was not but 4 miles away from here, and we just had the IBJJF World Jiu-Jitsu competition this weekend. And so last week we were doing very sports jiu-jitsu training, getting people ready for the tournament. I hate sports jiu-jitsu. I think sports jiu-jitsu is the abomination to what martial arts is, where like it takes something that's really cool and then they make it sporty. You know, it's like, oh, let's give some points to do some stupid things. And then people, you know, the mutation that evolve, like how it evolves, it loses its balls. And I don't like things that had balls and then no longer have balls. They kind of go like the emasculated man. And that's what jiu-jitsu has almost become. Like jiu-jitsu to me is like, I'm going to get in mount or side control. I'm going to pick your face up. I'm going to smash it into this cement. And then I'm going to push your eyes out. And then I'm going to bite your cheek off. You know, that's jiu-jitsu to me. Because, you know, that's the origin of it.
The gentle art.
Yeah, the gentle art. And so today we did combat jiu-jitsu. So just to have a total paradigm shift, just to make people's heads explode, instead of like talking about, you know, getting 4 points for back control or getting 4 points for mount or getting a takedown and getting 2 points. Like find a place that you can hold somebody down and then hit them. And that's it.
I was watching a video in prep for this. I think it was from Sheepdog Response, which we can talk about in a second. But you had back control on someone. You're right on top of them. They were all turtled up on the ground, and you sort of wiped your fingers on their eyes, and you're like, okay, yeah, I just took your eyes out. So something along the lines of like old man jiu-jitsu leads to old men dying or something like that. But there's just such a huge delta between the two.
I think you have to look at the origin of what things are, and then the abomination of what they become. You know, what you see is these really, the genesis of a martial art was they had to learn how to protect themselves, or they didn't have weapons, so they had to create something to fight the dictators that were killing them, or there were the samurai that were really good with swords. So then the ninjas came along to use stealth, because if you fight a ninja head on, you're going to die. So let's create something new. And then over time, that loses what it is. You know, like you have to be able to competitively practice something to get good at it. So then you can implement sport. And that's what kind of differentiates a lot of these different jiu-jitsu, or a lot of these different martial arts, are just really tiny little rules. Like what's the difference between judo and jiu-jitsu and Greco-Roman wrestling, and Greco-Roman wrestling and freestyle wrestling and collegiate wrestling. And so they're very small differences. That's to make them a sport. But if you take those rules away, you get back to what the martial art was, which was how to fight for your life and not get murdered. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah, and I think it's also misleading when people think of the term martial art and they turn it into some type of performance.
I'm gonna take like body paint, and I'm like gonna start putting my chest all over this window. I'm doing martial arts.
And it's actually, when you go back to the translation from, say, whether it's like wushu in Chinese or any of these, like bujutsu in Japanese, I used to live in Japan, it's actually martial technique that then got translated to art. So it's lost its some of its impact through a mistranslation in a sense. And when I look at your career, I saw you fight live in some early Strike Force events when I was living in San Jose. And then became fascinated by your military career, which we'll talk about. It seems like you're very good at game time decisions and acting under pressure. So I want to talk about training, though, for a second. Could you talk about what you say to yourself when you train? And at least my understanding is it begins with hurry up, ...
Yeah, hurry up and fail. Funny enough, as I send you that picture of me dripping blood out of my face, and like I've blood already clotted in my mouth, you know, and like it gets like stuck as it starts congealing, you know, it turns into that gelatin up inside of kind of weird cavities inside of your nose. So if you like cough, like chunks start flying. As I was trying to explain what it means to train, so somebody came up to me at the end of practice today and they're like, man, I keep getting tired, or I keep quitting, or I had a couple of people that just tapped from the position that I was in, or that they were in. And so hurry up and fail is this mantra of, I want to get to the breaking point of where I can't go on any longer, and I want to stay there. Because then the next time I train, that wall has moved. I mean, ever so slightly, but it's moved. So then the next time I can go in and I can get to that point as hard and as fast as I can, and I can stay there. So the next time it's going to move. And repeat until finally, if you look back months later, you've progressed so far. Today, I was at On It Academy, and we did the exact same workout we did 2 months ago. Same weight. And what 2 months ago left us on the ground, like almost heaving in nauseous, couldn't stand up, about to throw up. Today, we blew through effortlessly, and Juan, Shane, and I looked at each other like, what are we supposed to do right now? Because we have an extra 16 minutes because we went through it so fast. So in 2 months, there was such a clear change of looking back and seeing like, man, I got bigger, I got faster, I got stronger, and I ultimately got harder to kill. So in jiu-jitsu, it's the exact same. You rush to that breaking point. And by no means do I want to say somebody's going to break me. Because if somebody can break me, I welcome it. Like, bring it. I go all over the world to try and find people that can do that, so I can find that point where I'm going to fail, and then the next time I do it, it's going to move. You know.
So when you then fast forward to an example of an environment in which the stakes are a little higher, so I'd love to talk about Roger Gracie, starting with an R for you non-Brazilians out there. I was chatting with mutual acquaintance. Actually, before we get to mutual acquaintance, I owe credit to the person who made the introduction, who is Donald Park.
Love that guy.
Who I went to college with, who used to be a super lightweight blue belt that I could throw around because of judo. Now I can no longer throw him around because he's a black belt. And co-owner of a school, which is where you were training today. What's the name of the school?
Gracie Humaita. I think it's Hoyler Gracie is it's in his lineage, so I'm a Hoyler Gracie black belt, but Donald Parks and Paulo Brandao are the ones that run the school. And it is a shark tank of passionate people that love family and martial arts, and that's what that place is.
And for those of you who don't want staph infections, also very clean school.
Oh, it's one of my favorite things. I'm a huge germaphobe. Not I'm a germaphobe, but like I'm a crazy clean person. Yeah. And like I walked in today and I could smell bleach. I was like, God, I love that smell. It's like that means. So I actually have a huge infection on my leg right now because I was in Florida and I got my leg sliced open on the side of a boat after I smashed a window with a tomahawk. And my leg got infected from it because the water, I'm not sure if you know this, in Miami is not really clean.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So like I'm cutting my leg open so I can scrub it with iodine so this infection goes away, because I also don't like prescriptions.
All right. Well, I can't leave that and go back to Roger Gracie immediately. So we'll get to Roger in due time. Wait, so you're in a boat, you smash a window with a tomahawk. What the hell happened?
The boat was on fire and it was sinking. I didn't want to drown, so I smashed the window. And then I tried to swim out, and then the glass in the window cut my leg. And then I got what I think is poop water inside of my cut leg.
What's the context for that?
Well, somebody had pooped in the water.
No, I'm sorry. Why was their broken glass tomahawk boat on fire to begin with?
We're recreating a commercial fisherman's worst nightmare, which is being on a boat that's on fire, that's sinking, and you're going to have to make a bunch of decisions at once. Am I going to try to put the fire out? Am I going to try to save the boat? Am I going to start to get my rescue equipment? Am I going to start trying to find my beacon? Am I going to start deploying the boat, the life boat? Am I going to get my immersion suit? Am I going so you have a whole bunch of really bad options to choose from, and all of those bad options might dictate whether you live or die.
This is for the TV show that you're finishing up.
Yep.
What's the name of the show?
It's called Hard to Kill.
Aptly named.
Yeah, but not me. It's not about like me being hard to kill, which I hope I am.
Right.
The hard to kill. It's to pay homage to guys and gals that do these jobs that are in freaking sane. Like, imagine we're sitting here talking right now. Some random dude just like started rappelling down the side of this window to clean our window. Like, people do that job. That's kind of crazy, and they do it when the wind's blowing 30, 40 miles an hour.
Right.
You're like, we're like that little crane right there, which doesn't have an American flag on it. That
You don't seem pleased by that.
No, that vexes me. I want to go tear that thing down like Hulk style and start throwing those construction guys off until they put up an American flag. Oh, they got their little brands up there, whatever those are. Don't care. If you're listening right now and you're a crane operator, I implore you to please put an American flag on your crane. We want to see it. All right. So, look at that hand cramp in my hamstring.
This is the most action-packed podcast I've ever done already.
I'm just going to drink some more water.
How did Tim Kennedy pull his hamstring? He was doing a podcast with Tim Ferriss.
They're really intense. You have intense podcasts. So we find these jobs that are super dangerous, and people do them every single day, and they embody the spirit of the American people. You know, they do something that provides, that puts food on tables, that put gases in cars, that delivers medications to people in nowhere, Alaska. And these are brave, courageous, fearless people that do the jobs every single day. And then we find in that job their worst nightmare, their worst case scenario, their worst day. And then I go and I do that. So I learned about the job, I learned about the people, I learned about why they do it, and then ultimately how they survive or sometimes even perish. And I go and do that thing, which is dumb. You know, which leads me, like, I'm 20 pounds lighter than I normally am, and I have a bunch of jacked up cuts all over my body right now, and I'm trying to march on.
You seem good at marching on. And I mean, a common thread that occurs to me, at least, one thing that fascinates me about people in those situations, anyone in very high pressure situations, is the internal monologue, sort of the self-talk, which I'm going to use as a segue to Roger Gracie. So Roger, for people who don't know who he is, chatting with a second mutual acquaintance who I'm not sure if he wants to be named or not. We can talk about who he is afterwards. But he said you could consider Roger many people would consider him one of the top 5 jiu-jitsu competitors of all time. Would you say that's a fair statement?
I'd put him top 3.
Top 3.
I'd tie him with 3 other guys.
All right. Just out of curiosity, who else would be up at the top in your mind?
Fortunately, Ryan Gordon right now is definitely up there. Lovato, and without a doubt, I'd have to include New York. I can't even remember his name right now.
I'm sure somebody from the internet will recognize who. Oh, wait a second. I know who you're talking about. You're talking about Marcelo Garcia.
Yeah, Marcelo Garcia. Yeah.
That was
Marcelo
the
Garcia.
Marcelotine.
Yeah, the Marcelo guillotine.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, loose hand, high elbow.
Marcelo's amazing.
Yeah.
But Roger's in there.
Yeah.
And you fought Roger in MMA rules, or under MMA rules. When you're walking out to enter the octagon to fight someone like that, and just to flash forward, I mean, the story as it was retold to me, having seen the footage, but it was retold to me by another high-level jiu-jitsu practitioner. He said, not only on the feet did you effectively beat the shit out of Roger, but on the ground also you were able to do that. So 2 questions. When you're walking out, are you saying hurry up and fail to yourself on the way out to the octagon?
No, on game day, when I'm putting rounds in my magazines. So when you put your body armor on, put your helmet on, do a commo check.
Do a what check?
A commo check, like a communication with the radio,
check.
On all the different channels, and we have like your primary, secondary, contingent, and emergency channels. Then the very next thing you do is you chamber a round into your pistol, because if you do your rifle first, you'll forget to do your pistol. So you do these things in these pre-mission checks in a very specific order, so you never miss something. So I'm in a gunfight with my rifle runs out of ammunition, somebody's charging at me, I go to transition, I forgot to put a round in the chamber. Like, you think you'd never do that, but like you're about to the helicopter's getting spun up, you know, guys are putting their gear on, you can forget. So you do things very meticulously. When I put that round in my chamber of my pistol before I start putting the round in the chamber of my rifle, which is the last thing that I do before I start taking tape off of charges, or, you know, making sure all my grenades are prepped properly. It's like, not today. That's what I'm telling myself. Like, I can fail all the time in training. I can rush to failure. I can hurry up and fail at every opportunity when I'm getting ready. But when finally bullets are going to fly, or I'm going to walk into that octagon, or I'm going to kick that door in, not today. Like, not a fucking chance are you going to beat me on that day.
Is that what you repeat to yourself when you step into the octagon and you're waiting for all the announcing to complete, or is there more that goes through your head?
I'm actually waiting for the first time I make a mistake, and somebody thinks that they're going to do something great, that like, I'm going to get hit the first time. Or in Hodger's case, I shot an inside single on him to put him on his back, which nobody thought in my right mind I would do, and he got my back. Hodger Gracie's best position. Hodger Gracie, if he gets on your back, you're going to sleep, period. I got there and I was like, hell yeah. Do you know what's going to happen? I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to start punching you in the face, and think about that. That's going to do to him
Psychologically.
He's in the best position that he could possibly be in, the thing that he's the best at. And this little hairy-handed monkey that's in front of him gets out and starts punching him in the face while he has his back. That was the end of the fight. I was 3 minutes into the fight, and there was nothing he could do psychologically from that point forward, because I already beat the thing he did the best.
Right.
So even in my failure, I was like, hell yeah, here I come, like, I wish I had blood dripping out of my mouth and sending him pictures later of it, because like that's the opportunity to really thrive, to grow, and to just scare the freaking shit out of somebody.
Yeah. I don't consider myself a fighter at all. Well, I'm not an accomplished fighter in any capacity, but I enjoy interacting with people who are very good at combat sports. And you mentioned Marcelo earlier, so I've had a chance to spend time with Marcelo simply because his school in New York City is co-owned with a dear friend of mine named Josh Waitzkin, who, for those who don't know the name, was the basis for Searching for Bobby Fischer, both the book and the movie. So he's formerly considered a chess prodigy. And what they did and continue to do at that school is they videotape training sessions, sparring sessions with Marcelo. And this was also including during his competitive career. And people were like, that's ridiculous. How would you possibly show your whole hand on video? That's crazy. And all these other people were really secretive. And Marcelo's thinking was like, that doesn't bother me at all, because that's my game. It's like, if people try to enter my game, like, I'm never going to lose. I will always win. Like, you want to watch my stuff and try to play that hand? Like, yeah, sure. I would love for you to do that. And he's the sweetest guy ever, so I'm using a tone that he would never use. Yeah. Who are fighters, past or present, who really impress you? Are there any, they could be well known, but I'm particularly interested in names that folks might not recognize as like the 2 or 3 guys in the marquee lights that have really been seen before.
Jeremy Horn. He was an old school guy, but one of Chuck Liddell's first losses, if not his only loss by submission, was to Jeremy Horn. Yeah, Chuck's a NCAA wrestler, the Iceman. Like putting everybody to sleep. Just cool, calm, collected, walks out, and, you can't take him down. He's just going to hit you with these bricks for hands. And he gets on top of Jeremy, and Jeremy just holds on to him, puts him in a head and arm choke in the guard, and puts him to sleep. Like waking Chuck up, like, because he's so unconscious. And that was... He has a really unassuming body shape. They called him Gumby, because he doesn't look like me. Like, you look at me and you're like, ugh, I don't want to fight that ape. You look at him and you're like, well, you can babysit my kids. Right. Can you walk my dog? So he's one of those guys that was just so disarming. Carlos Condit is another one where, especially at his prime, he looked like the idiot kid next door that you'd want to mow your lawn and house sit, right, and like clean dog poop out of the back of your house. Right. He was just such a nice looking, pleasant New Mexico kid. But when that bell rang, it was just pure violence everywhere. He would elbowing you, spinning kicks, submissions, grapple. It didn't matter where the fight went. He's just going to fight. And there's no, the only way you can beat him is like just being inches or seconds ahead of him in something for the whole entire duration of the fight.
Hard to do.
Yeah, really hard to do, because you're not going to knock him out. You're not going to submit him. You just have to out-endure him. And when I say endure, I'm not talking like Lance Armstrong on a bicycle. I'm talking like getting punched in the face for 25 minutes. That's a really dumb way to out-endure somebody.
Well, so this...
I put Jacare in that short list too, of best grapplers.
I think I don't speak Portuguese, so I think that's the crocodile, isn't it?
Yeah.
Jacare. Guy's an animal.
Yeah.
I remember hearing stories. I didn't see this personally, but of him in jiu-jitsu tournaments, literally just ripping the arms off, like the fabric arms off of gis because of his strength and grip strength. What a beast.
Yeah.
So that leads me to a quote, and if this is a misquote, please correct it, of course. But here we go. Quote, "My entire life revolves around the concept that I want to be the hardest person someone ever tries to kill. If you're going to come and think, oh, I'm going to kill Tim Kennedy, you might be able to, but it's going to be the nastiest, most evil, disgusting, violent affair that you could ever imagine occurring." How do you develop, I'll keep this really broad, but mental toughness, and where does that fit in? Or what mental / psychological advantages do you have in life or in battle, and how have you developed them?
There's so many like metaphors and phrases and little cliches of, it's not the size of the dog, but the size of the fight in the dog.
Right. Yeah,
right. Yeah. It's not the size of it's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the fight of the dog in the fight.
Or
right.
The fight in the dog.
Yeah. That is developed.
Right.
So bulls in the 60s and 70s, they had bucking bulls. And they are hard to ride, So then what they started doing in the 70s and 80s, they started finding Mexican fighting bulls. These are mean, nasty bulls, and they were breeding them with the bucking bulls. So the bucking bulls are big, powerful bulls. And then what would happen in the 80s and 90s, what guys used to be able to ride like 60, 70, maybe even 80% of the time they'd successfully get their 8 seconds. By the 80s, it was down to 50%. Right now, it's down to like the 20s and 30s. The bulls are just bigger. They're meaner. And they buck just as hard. And the cowboys are not only scared of how hard they're going to buck, but when they get thrown, that bull is turning around to try and murder that cowboy because they're mean. So it can be trained. It can be, in the bull's case, it's actually bred.
Right.
But in special forces, there's a lot of different special operations units, Navy SEALs and Marine Recon. I'll even give a nod to the Air Force with their JTACs, the Army Rangers, Army Special Forces, the Green Berets. In the process, once you get past selection, the next 6 months to 10 months, they pretty much just tear away every level of who you are, of your ego. If we're going to go like Freudian, they're just stripping away everything down to the most raw element of you as a human, and that you're worthless, that you can't do anything. And you are so exposed and you're so vulnerable at this point that then they can start building a fresh foundation. And they start putting in the cornerstones of never quitting, of always working hard, of planning relentlessly, and strategically looking for every opportunity to never have a fair fight. So, because we feel so vulnerable and we feel so exposed, like anything could hurt me right now. Like, fuck, if you fart on me, I might die. So I have to have every single advantage strategically. Like I need to cheat in every way so I never have a fair fight. If I'm going to go and kick a door in and there's 4 bad guys in there, cool. I'm going to have 250 dudes with me. We're all going to have better guns. We're all going to have better ammo. We're going to have better sights. We're going to have aerial support. While that may not always be an option, that's what we want.
Yeah.
Because we never want to fail again because we felt so raw and exposed. And that's different from all other special operations. And I think that's why special forces specifically has been so successful and so unheard of. So unremarkable that nobody knows, the quiet professionals, which is our motto, means that we're still successful.
What was the motto?
The quiet professionals.
The quiet professionals.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about how the military entered your life. And I don't know the exact timing on this, but it seems like let's start with, and then you can sort of place us 9/11. So it seems like your life changed quite dramatically around that time. Could you tell us who is Tim Kennedy at that point in time?
Do we have to?
And what then happened starting at 9/11?
All right. Well, I'm just going to tell you a story.
Yeah.
Mom, if you're listening, please stop. I'm at the pit.
Yeah.
We're Chuck trained out of
San Luis
Obispo. And I'm training, sweaty, stinky. And this pretty good looking girl walks in. And I was like, hey girl, what's going on? And she's like, hey, I'm looking for a guy that fought. He was like the 4th or 5th fight that fought a few weekends ago at the WC, the World Extreme Cage Fighting fight on, I think it was like on Halloween. I was like, oh, I fought that night. And she's like, oh yeah, I remember you. You look familiar. And like, I totally didn't remember her. And she tells me that she tested positive for HIV and that we had a huge orgy that night. And she's trying to contact all of her partners that she's been with in the past few months to have them go get tested that they might have AIDS. That pretty much personifies who I am.
Yeah. At the time.
Yeah. I graduated from high school a few years early, was done with college a couple of years early. Like 18, I'm an EMT firefighter. 19, I already had my undergrad. I start grad school. 9/11 happens. I got 2 girls pregnant. Girls walking into I'm in just a talented, wasted piece of shit. Like I'm wasted potential in every single sense of the word. And at the time that all of these things are going wrong and I'm having this realization of, I have to do something. I don't know what that is. A bunch of planes start slamming into buildings, to the Pentagon, into the 2 towers, into some random field in Virginia. And, and I'm just sitting here watching live these things happen and realizing what a waste of a human I am. Like everything was about what jeans am I going to wear? Or, if I'm going to bring a good bottle to some place to impress somebody to, be able to hook up with somebody else. And it was like this horrible, humiliating slap in the face of you're a piece of shit. What are you going to do now?
And then what happens?
So I walk into the recruiter's office and I say, put me on the fastest course I possibly can to the worst place I can go.
All right. So you do that. What do the people around you think of that decision?
My mom was scared. My dad was proud. My brother was excited. All of my friends were just like me, so interested in themselves that it didn't matter what I was going to be doing.
Right. They were too self-absorbed.
Yeah.
To really have that much interest.
Yeah. My dad, he wasn't proud yet. He was exhilarated in the sense that I had a chance. Mm-hmm.
In a way, you'd been given a second chance.
Yeah.
Like a reboot opportunity.
In this case, it was probably my 50th chance.
Yeah.
I came, white privilege is a thing, and I had every opportunity to succeed in anything I did. I was top 10 in the world when I was 22 years old as a fighter, 21 as a fighter. Anything, I could have done anything. And I was just wasting everything. So then at this point, it was my dad finally be like, okay, we got another chance, let's see how this goes.
So if you could walk us through sort of what happens in the weeks and months after that, because I'm very, I have friends who are both active and at this point certainly now more so on the civilian side from military, but I've never experienced it myself.
Yeah.
So what happens from that point forward?
So, it's to get to special forces, there's a lot of tests, from intelligence chat tests, your ASVAB, your GT test.
What are those?
It's your general technical knowledge. So there's high IQ people who can do amazing things on questionnaires, and then if you hand them a puzzle, they kind of look at it like, or if you hand them a transmission,
right,
and you say, break this transmission down and put it back together. That's just a different type of mind.
Sure.
Special forces, they want smart guys that are physically capable, that have a very, very high acumen in general technical ability. So there's some tests that when you take the ASVAB, which is kind of the general military intelligence test, that has subcategories, that one of which is your GT score, your general technical knowledge. So make sure your scores are good. You have the proficiency to learn a second language quickly, or you already have a second language, which is required in all special forces. And then you go to basic training as an infantryman. If you finish basic training, you go to airborne school. You finish basic training infantry school and airborne school. Then you go to special operations preparation course. And this is the attritor. This is the opportunity for the special forces to get rid of you. This is, it's run by senior special forces NCOs, and it's their first access to the fresh population of potential candidates that are going to go to selection. If you don't pass SOP-C, then you don't get to go to selection. If you don't go to selection, then you go to the needs of the Army. You can go back to being infantry, or you could go to EOD, or you could do anything else. You just can't be a Green Beret.
What does EOD stand for? What is it? Yeah.
It's getting rid of bombs. Explosive ordnance disposal. Guys would go to psychological operations, civil affairs, just kind of any other kind of high-speed, cool job, but you're just never going to be special forces. I think we got there in April, and they froze guys going to selection in May, June, July, and August because it was too hot, and a bunch of Green Berets keep dying in selection, well, pre-Green Berets. So they wouldn't let us go. So they had us for 4 or 5 months of all of these recruits coming in. And the 500 of us, they sent 91 of us to selection. Everybody else went away.
Washed out a lot of people.
Yeah. And of the 91 of us, 88 of us got selected and then went to... When you get selected, that just means you get to go to the Q course, which is somewhere between a year to 2 years of training to show up on the team and then realize that you know nothing and that you're a piece of shit and that you have everything to learn the day that you walk through the door.
So when you got into, say, the Q course, what were you best at and what were you worst at? Where did you excel and where were you deficient the most, if you remember?
They love the gray guy. Like they always say, be the gray man, be the guy. There's 200 people in formation. Be the guy that nobody knows the name of.
Yeah.
Which means like if you're going to run a PT test, there's the guy that goes the fastest and the guy that goes the slowest. You want to be the guy that just passes that nobody knows about.
Why is that?
Like being so unremarkable is especially in special operations, it's a trait that's really hard to find. That
is that for blending in later, for being inconspicuous later? Or
yeah, and also we don't want showboaters.
Right.
You can go to the Navy SEALs, and we don't want failures.
Yeah.
You can go to the Air Force, So we want that sweet middle ground. We want the gray man that can do anything, that will always pass, and you forget about the moment you take your eyes off him.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm looking right at you, but where'd you go, man? I know you're right there.
Right.
Like, you cross the finish line. You're like, all right, great job. What was that dude's name again?
Right.
That's the guy that we want, because that guy's priceless.
So were you that guy?
I was not that guy. I was the guy that would finish first.
Yeah.
I was the guy that was...
biceps the size of my chest, probably.
Yeah. And competitive shooter, a professional fighter. Like, they knew who I was. Right. So it took a lot of practice and training and pain to kind of get the gray man mentality. Mm-hmm. I wanted everybody like, oh, look at Tim. You're like, great. Look at that guy. Be like Tim. But that's just not how it is in that culture.
So how do they beat that out of you, or how do
they beat that? Like you said it.
Yeah.
They beat it out of you. So if you're in SEER school, you're talking about being a gray man.
Yeah.
Like if you're the tallest,
what is that? That's help me out. What
survival, evasion, resistance, escape.
Mm-hmm.
It's a month-long torture school where you want to be the gray man. If you're not the gray man, you are being beat. You are being beaten.
Yeah.
Like phone books, hoses, starvation, cold water, locked inside of cages, locked inside of boxes that you can't take a full breath in, locked inside of a box that you can't stand up in, that you can't stretch in, being pissed on, getting put in a pond that's frozen and making you squat so your tiny little dick and the balls, which are essentially up inside of your stomach, are barely touching and breaking the ice. And you have to stand there in that half squat with the water just playing with what's left of your, tiny penis. And with somebody making fun of you while you're doing it.
Right.
You're like, oh, look at his little dick, and like, why are you taller than I am tall? Oh, and then they bit you again. So they beat it out of you.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll get good at it. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of how to segue here.
Mental toughness.
Now,
it can be taught.
When is it considered graduating from, say, Ranger School? Like, what is that moment? Where does that come after that particular
So there's a bunch of phases in the Q course. Once you get selected and you start the Q course, you have small unit tactics. So it's learning how to be a guerrilla warfighter. And then from there, you have to learn your job. So you're an 18 Bravo. I'm an 18 Bravo, Special Forces weapons sergeant. I have to learn everything about every single foreign weapon. It's like how to assemble and disassemble a Dishka and an American M2, and then an AK-47 and an M4 and an M21 and M14. I need to know all of these weapons, how to assemble, how to disassemble. If you put all the parts into a box, I can pick all the parts out and figure out which gun is which and then put them together. I can close my eyes. I can do it with every single American gun. So that if you send me to a country and all we have access to is local indigenous guns, that's cool. We're good with these, and I know how to work it, I know how to clean it, how to operate it. So that's my job. Security, the security of my team, also an 18 Bravo skill set. And then from there, you go.
What does security mean in this context?
Like right now in this room that we're in, where would I set up early warning? You know, am I going to bribe the bum that's on the street corner that's watching the front door, or the guy that's at the front desk that let me in here and push the elevator button? Like, is he going to have my direct cell phone line? If I go to Dominican Republic to do a counter-human trafficking mission, who am I bribing? How am I protecting my team? How am I protecting? Or if I'm in country, if I'm in Afghanistan or if I'm in Iraq, like what is the outside cordon? You know, if I'm going to level all the bushes and then I'm going to put up high fence and then I'm going to have mines in between the high fence and the mid fence. And then from the mid fence to my security positions where I have machine guns positioned with interlocking sectors of fire. So by the time you get to my little hut in the middle, like it's been a pretty bad fight, you know? I'm supposed to be able to think of all that. Like I'm a security consultant, but for 12 Special Forces guys when everybody around us wants to kill us.
Got it.
So you've done SUT, small unit tactics, guerrilla warfare. You've learned your job. Then you go and you apply it in a phase called Robin Sage, which is the coolest phase there is.
Robin Sage.
You go to a country called Pineland, and you are embedded with 11 other Special Forces guys.
Now, is that a nickname for a real country or is it a simulation?
It's a simulation.
Yeah.
And it's very Vietnam era simulation, or North Iraq pre-war with the Kurds about to fight Saddam. They put you in, and they have 100 role players that are your indigenous fighting force, your militia. And you're trying to train them, you're trying to prepare them, you set up a base of operations that they're going to be fighting out of, and you start running operations, like military operations, to overthrow a government, to battle a local other insurgency, a competitive warlord, so that we have a hope of implementing democracy, and then help them write a constitution, and then help them put people into government that can run the country appropriately. And there's very intentional design problems that come up in this phase. But it's you pack your rucksack with your food and your water, and you jump out of an airplane into the middle of a forest, and you link up with the local G's, and you start conducting this 2-month long exercise. You finish that, you go to SEER school. You graduate SEER school, you finally get to go to being awarded your Green Beret, and then you step into an ODA, and they're like, you suck.
What's an ODA?
Special Forces Operation Detachment Alpha. It's the A-team.
I got it.
Where the ODA is the A-team. And they say, go sit in the corner and open your eyes, open your ears, and shut your mouth. And you do that for like a year. And then you get to start work.
So you get to start working. At what point? So I was doing some reading. And again, correct me if I'm wrong here. But so I'm the guy who once you graduated Ranger school, a place that starves you and denies you sleep for over 2 months, took a fight 6 days later in the IFL. Why would you do such a thing?
I'm stupid. Okay. I think we have a recurring theme here, right? Yeah. Where it's like, God, you're just a dumb person. You're like, you're a smart person, Tim. Like, and then across the table, there's like this other person that's super stupid.
I mean, it seems to have worked for you so far.
Hurry up and fail.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I graduated from Ranger School as honor grad, which is of the 400 or 500 people that went, the 200-300 that graduated, there's 3 that are selected, one for the NCOs, one for the officers, and one as an overall, as the best Rangers of that class. So I graduate. I actually fought in the Army Combatives tournament, which is one of, I think, the most grueling unknown tournaments in the world. I fought that the Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
What is it?
It's a 3-day tournament. You weigh in on Thursday. Friday, it's all grappling.
Who are the contestants?
The
or the combatants? Where are they from?
Combat arms of all branches of service. So Navy SEALs, Green Berets, Army Rangers, 101st Airborne, 82nd Airborne, infantrymen, like Marine, anybody that kicks ass for a living can come and fight in the combatives tournament.
The unknown kumite of the military.
Yeah. So first day is all grappling, or it's like a grappling tournament. If you win that day, you go to the next day, which is...
Are the rules sports jiu-jitsu? Are they different?
Similar to sports jiu-jitsu. There's no pulling guard. You can slam. You can knock out people
with a slam or
with a slam or throw. So very combat focused grappling.
Mm-hmm.
You win that, you move to the next day, which is pancrase rules, which is limited striking. You can kick to the head, open palm to the head, closed fist to the body, knees to the body, and then grappling. All submissions are in. If you win that day, then you move into the third day, which is full MMA rules, and it's like a UFC fight, but you're in your uniform. So you're still fighting in
in your gear.
In your gear the whole time.
Are there any rule differences between the MMA rules per se and this tournament and regular MMA rules?
They're pretty similar to like UFC.
Got it.
UFC rules.
Got it. More so than like a pride. So you're not allowed to kick on the ground.
No.
Yeah.
So that was the day I went to Ranger School. I weighed in on Thursday. I fought Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Won my third Army Combatives tournament, and the only person to ever win it 3 times. And then Sunday night, I checked into Ranger School. I went to Ranger School, graduated honor grad.
How much later was that? That was
the same day.
Oh, okay, I got it. Okay.
Yeah, like finished Sunday from the combatives tournament, iced my hands, and then checked into Ranger School that same day and started Ranger School that Sunday night. 2.5 months later, I graduate from Ranger School, honor grad, and then 8 days later, so I'm fighting Dante Rivera in the UFC or in the IFL. So
now, did you?
We say like that's really dumb.
But did you go into that particular fight? Did you commit to that fight because you wanted to win? Because you wanted to see if it was possible to do such a thing after the experience of Ranger School? Did you just commit so long ago that you're like, oh shit, here it is? No, I guess I'm pre-committed. Why do? Yeah, I mean, aside from you're saying it's stupid, but I know you're not a stupid guy. I mean, so what was the thought process? What were you hoping to get out of that?
Like right now, if somebody kicked in the front door of this room, and 10 Mexican cartel guys ran in, sicarios with their masks pulled over, what do you think I would do?
What do I think you would do?
Yeah,
I think you'd probably go straight for it.
For sure, right? I'm tearing out eyes. I'm biting out cheeks. Yeah. I'm taking this glass right here and it's going through the first dude's eye. I'm going to take that stand right there and I'm going to use it as a baseball bat. I'm going to make it a choke point right there by the hallway, where it's like we're in Thermopylae,
right?
And see if you guys can get past us, like the 300. That's just the spirit of the fight. And I think you have to test the spirit of the fight. When I graduated from Ranger School, and I got the call a couple of days later, could you fight in the IFL, which was a new promotion that was, on Fox. I knew I was going to already be heading to combat. And the reason I had to go to Ranger School was I had just gotten back from Iraq. And my boss, John McPhee, the sheriff of Baghdad, he told me I was a piece of shit. And he said that I had no business being in a unit like the one that we were in, because we were in a very special unit within Special Forces, and that I didn't have the leadership, and I didn't have the experience, and I didn't have the military bearing to be in that unit, and that I could maybe get a chance if I went to Ranger School and I graduated honor grad. I knew I was going to be heading back to combat, so I not only needed to prove to him that I was a good leader, but I was also tough enough, and I deserve to be there. Why?
Just if I can pause for a second, why did he say that? With the degree to which you're comfortable disclosing, I mean, what happened that would lead him to say that?
There's a lot of little things. We're on a night where we're trying to kill one of the most evil dudes in all of the war. We've been at war for 16 years, Zarqawi. Remember the deck of cards?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, like he was an ace. Like, he's a bad dude. He had strung up Americans from bridges and set them on fire. You know, he drug dudes down the road, strapped behind a car that he had stolen from the Americans. He was notorious for posing with pictures with Americans, dead Americans in front of him, holding their guns like he was an African trophy hunter. Even the movie The American Sniper with Chris Kyle, Chris Kyle was going after his henchmen, like lower level guys.
Yeah.
My unit was going after him.
Zarqawi.
Yeah, going specifically after Zarqawi. And there were nights where we're supposed to have 8 helicopters. So the whole assault force is going to be going, right? And then air or the mechanic or something came up and we only had 6. So my team sergeant's like, all right, here's the new load plan. Tim, you're not going to go. Little check on my ego, you know, like that sucks. Why can't I'm faster, I'm stronger, I'm definitely the juggernaut of the team, you know, like I'm out shooting you guys on the range right now. I'm out fighting you guys every morning and training. Why am I not going? Like a little petulant child, you know, like a spoiled bitch brat, redheaded idiot. Retrospectively looking, like that's what I sounded like. You're like, no, John, why can't I go? So there was lots of little tiny things that I did there that he was giving me a chance to prove that, okay, got it. When you guys get back, I'm going to have all your gear clean. Everything's going to be ready to go. So you can drop your gear off and go straight to bed and get some sleep after a long night of gunfighting. But instead, I'm bitching that I don't get to go. Like a bunch of examples like that. I could probably tell you 10.
Yeah.
Where the spirit of me, I just want to be in the fight.
Right.
But it's a team.
Right.
Right? Like we're only as good as our weakest link, and I'm being the weakest link, you know?
How much of the...
And we're getting exposed here.
Yeah, no. I mean, if I'm fascinated
I told you I'll tell you whatever.
Yeah, I've been...
And then you're going to hold it against me, and everybody's going to be like,
I will
they're
not,
going to be friends with that guy.
I'm not going to hold it against you. But so looking back then, how much of those instances, right? So you're not part of the load plan. Do you think it was because you weren't qualified to be part of the load plan versus I want to see how Tim responds?
Both.
So, yeah.
I'm sure it was both. I mean, there were times where I know he specifically put me on a load plan that I didn't need to be on just to see how I'd perform. And the very next day wouldn't put me, you know, like, okay, I'm not going to put you on the helicopter assault force, the HAF. I'm going to put you on the GAF, the ground assault force. And I was like, I don't want to be on the ground assault. You know, like, how about you shut your face? You go out to that M250 cal machine gun, you start doing the headspace and timing, making sure it's clean, making sure all the ammo's stacked perfectly. So when you're on it, and if you get in a gunfight, everything's going to go so perfectly for you. But instead, you're bitching.
Right.
You know, and I know he did that.
So then he gives you the kind of verbal report card that you described, and you have this IFL coming up, and you feel like you need to show what?
I think I needed to show myself that spirit of the fight. You know, like, so I come back, I not only graduate as honor grad, I also get the leadership award, which is like the thing I wanted the most to like, so all of Ranger School is like, hey, you're the best leader of this whole entire class. But I get back to the team. I got a little bit more military bearing. I got my Ranger tab on here sewn with white thread because I graduated during winter. Like we walked through snow, which only rarely happens. So like feeling pretty awesome. But I haven't lost my fight. Like I kind of wanted to show him that I'm still that same.
Right.
I'm still that same bulldog. You know, I'm still that same pit bull.
I still have the things you liked.
Yeah, like that. I haven't changed as a person, and I'm gonna like who's this Dante Rivera? You know, a Henzo Gracie brown or black belt that is undefeated. Neat. I'm gonna pound him into oblivion, and I'll come back to the team on Monday and start getting ready to go to Afghanistan.
All right. So you've been starved, denied sleep for 2 months. You take this fight. You go into the fight. What happens?
I pound him into oblivion. He quit. He tapped from strikes. I put him in every single position, and for a round and a half, I just punched him in the face from our feet, from the ground, picked him up, put him on the back of his head. And when guys graduate Ranger School, a lot of guys don't walk for months. Like their legs are so destroyed. They're so malnourished. They're so sleep deprived. The inside of their legs are so chaffed and rubbed raw. Like they'll actually get in the military. You get a medical release where you don't have to show up for a PT test or any physical activity, physical training in the morning because they know you're so jacked up, and they'll give you that for months after Ranger School. So I wanted to go into a fight a week and a half after graduating Ranger School and scare the living crap out of everyone.
And you did.
Yeah.
A couple of questions that I think are tangentially related, but I was actually very curious to talk about a few things. Briefly, walkout music. What have you used and why?
I used to walk out to like the funnest, most disarming song I possibly could. Like, do you really want to hurt me? Do you really want to make me cry? And I'd sing it to him as I was walking out. I was like pointing at him, and it's like, and I get in the ring, I'm still pointing at it, like maybe batting my eyes, maybe blowing him kisses, like just to mess with him.
Right.
And I do a bunch of different songs like that all the time. Mm-hmm. And then my friend Nick Palmisano from Ranger Up, he is like, hey man, do you know the origin of the song Rooster?
Alice in Chains?
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, right. It's like the Rooster. He's like, it's about a machine gunner in Vietnam. He's writing to his dad who was in Vietnam and would carry the M16 machine gun for the 101st. And I was like, no. Are you serious? Like the forgotten war with the forgotten soldiers, the time when the American people were so disenchanted with what the military was doing, fighting for freedom, trying to destroy communism. And I was like, okay, I'm going to walk out to this every day. So the last half of my career, I would always walk out to that song, The Rooster. And as a homage or a tribute to not just Vietnam, not just POWs, not just machine gunners, not just infantrymen, but for like everybody everywhere that's ever fought in a fight for something that's bigger and greater than them with no thanks and no appreciation. That, because I wasn't there fighting for me. I was there fighting for everybody else besides me at that point.
And we were chatting a little bit before hitting record today, and I asked you what would make this a successful interview, right? Looking back a few months from now. And I might get the exact words wrong, but you said it'd be nice if people would stop dying. And you talked about helping people become harder to kill.
Yeah.
So how do people listening, how would you suggest to people listening who maybe, let's assume they're in not couch potato shape, 150 pounds overweight, but that they're non-athletes who are in reasonable shape but have no military experience, haven't been exposed to any maybe real, what they would consider physical hardship in a long time. How does someone like that, if they think to themselves, I would like to become harder to kill, what would your program or recommendations look like for them?
One of the hardest things about me trying to inspire or encourage people to train is they look at me and they're like, that guy's freaking savage. He's a special forces sniper, Ranger qualified Green Beret that's been to combat 12 times, fought in the UFC, ranked top 10 in the world. He's a black belt in a handful of martial arts. But I'm the exact same person as the other 7 billion people on the planet, right? Like I didn't grow up with any kryptonite in the fridge, like there's nothing that is different about me in any way, shape or form. I just work, and I'm just fighting. At this point, I'm fighting for not even 1% to get 1% better. I'm fighting for like percentages of a percent, incrementally, like decimals, like the tiniest little bits, just for that much of improvement. Like I long for the day where I would get dramatically faster in a month. That if I was 20% body fat, I could be 18% body fat. Do you know how freaking cool that would be? If I could just lose 2% body fat.
Meaning you're envious of the people who have more as a sort of percentage to gain if they started doing things in terms of training and so on.
But you just said it.
Yeah.
If they just started doing things, that's it. All you have to do is start. So like everybody, so where do I start? Man, anything. You could get up if you don't walk around, if you haven't gotten up and walked around your block a couple of times, do that. If you haven't Googled where the closest martial art gym is, whether it's judo, whether it's jiu-jitsu, or it's Muay Thai, whether it's wrestling, doesn't matter. If you haven't done it, try it. You know, if you've never gone to the shooting range and shot, give it a whirl. If you've been eating fried food for like 3 meals of 3 dinners out of the week, try 2.
Right.
You know, like just anything will make you just that much better. And then those little tiny decisions start building on top of each other. And then sooner or later you look back and you don't even recognize the person that you are. There's such this beautiful change where like, oh my God, I can see my dick, you know, like I can see my feet. Or my wife, for the first time in 5 years, I saw her look at me when I got up and I walked out of the room, and not like looked at me like, thank God that guy's getting up and leaving, but like, God damn, that guy looked good.
Right.
You know, like when was the last time in some people's lives that they've felt that way about the person they've been living with for 10 years?
Right.
You know, like make that girl fall in love with you again, you know, impress the fuck out of her. You know, when was the last time that you picked up both your kids and like ran to the play gym with them hoisted on your shoulders and like put one up on the other one's you're holding the hand, you hand them on the play gym. Like that's some massive masculine shit.
Yeah.
You're just playing with your kids on a play gym.
Yeah.
You know, but there's this opportunities, and there's so many of them for us just to embrace our potential, which is usually, I mean, you know more about it better than almost anyone on the planet because you've pushed that limit so many times in so many different ways, both intellectually and physically. Like there's so much unrealized potential. Back to me at 21 years old, little piece of shit, self-absorbed, ethnocentric prick. Like unrealized potential. There's like 120, 140 million Americans right now that just have total unrealized potential. Like just go. Whatever that is, just start.
So if they wanted to, for instance, develop on top of some of the physical training, the ABCs, the basic literacy of survival. Let's say they live in an urban environment. What might those be? I mean, taking a 2 or 3 day CPR class, EMT stuff. You mentioned active shooter defense, which I think is particularly relevant in some respects. But what would some of those ABCs be if someone's like, you know what, I really want to spend, let's say, a weekend, like every weekend for the next 8 weeks, amassing some of these skills?
I mean, I'll just say A and B. A is keep the blood in the good guys. And B is let the blood out of the bad guys. That's it, right? If they're innocent people, they're cops, they're firefighters, they're school children, a bunch of people dancing at a nightclub, you know, and somebody comes in and starts trying to shoot people. We want to keep the blood inside of those people, right? The blood, we don't only have a finite amount of it. Blood stays in the body of the good people. And then the bad guys, you want all the blood in them, out of them, in whatever way you can. I don't care if that's a knife. I don't care if that's a gun. I don't care if that's a brick. I don't care if that's a bottle. That person needs to stop hurting people. So, yeah, that might be CPR. That might be learning how to put on a tourniquet. That might be learning how to prevent it from happening entirely, which is situational awareness. My good friend Shane and I, when we go out to eat here in Austin, we almost play games. We're biometrics and atmospherics, where we're sitting in a restaurant and we look at everybody in the room. The first thing we do is identify potential threats in our threat assessment. And then we figure out where the guns are in the room. Who's the guy that's wearing the come and take it shirt, right? That has the fanny pack, or that has that bulge on his right hip, or that has that appendix carrier. It's like, dude, that guy is not Dirk Diggler. He is not that big. There's something in the front of his pants. And then we start making assumptions about who's in the room. The two people that are sitting together that kind of are awkwardly interacting. Okay, is this their first date? Is this a business meeting? Is this the first time that they've ever been alone? Or are they married and they're not supposed to be, they're not married to each other. They're meeting
Right.
up, for the first time. And we start making these assumptions. And then we develop another skill set, which is I go up and I start chatting these people up. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Is that your truck out there? Man, I love those rims. And in a disarming way, start eliciting very passively information out of them to confirm or to prove us right or wrong in kind of the assumptions that we've made thus far. So it's developing two things simultaneously, but that is the first element of being safe is being aware of your surroundings. Knowing where I'm going to run, knowing where the out is, where the exit is, where my car is parked, where a threat is going to come from. What's the most likely course of action? What's the most dangerous course of action? If I'm at a taco place, the most dangerous course of action is somebody coming and setting a bomb off. The most likely course of action is just somebody coming up and be like, hey, give me the money in the register. But I need to think about what the different degrees are of what the threats possibly could be. And then, like, my kids never know that all this. Maybe they have a clue. They're smart, but they never think about this stuff. They just know that they're safe. That I have a way to get out. Like the backpack that's right here next to me that has a gun in it, that has 2 tourniquets, and it has an IFAK in it.
What's an IFAK?
An individual first aid kit. So even all of us right here, like, I have enough stuff if all of you guys got shot to plug your wounds. Like in my backpack right here, and a good gun with an extra magazine.
What type of gun, just out of curiosity?
There's a Glock 43, but I got good frangible rounds and a couple extra magazines. It'll be all right. It's tricked out, though. Good sights, good trigger, good barrel, because I don't want to fight fair, because I want to cheat in every way.
Well, it makes me think of, I think I'm getting this right. I think it's Hackworth. That makes sense, right? That's a real name.
It sounds like a real name.
Yeah. If you find yourself in a fair fight, you didn't plan your mission properly.
Yeah. I think my favorite fight in the world would be the dude's laying on his bed asleep, and
there it is.
Yeah, just right behind me.
Just in case I make any odd moves. So, what are? Do you find it? What is your emotional state when you're doing these types of checks? Is it playful? Is it serious? Is it stressful?
No, it's living. It's freedom. It's freeing. So, like, I had this huge level of awareness, right? Where it's kind of like I'm a radar, like ding, 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 ding. And when I see something that's off, so in the military, everything's uniform, right? Everybody wears the same thing. Everybody dresses the same. Everybody makes their bed the same. And that's so when you look at something that is off, your eye catches it right away. That's why everything's uniform in the military. Do you know that?
Yeah.
So it's easier to see when something's wrong
that makes
because everything else is the same.
Yeah, right. It makes perfect sense.
So have you ever done like work counterfeiting stuff?
I'm sorry?
Counterfeiting. So like if I was trying to find the easiest way to find a counterfeit bill is to put it with a whole bunch of bills that I know are good. So your eye's like, well, that one
That's
looks.
the one thing that sticks out.
That one looks weird.
Right.
The color's off, or the dimensions aren't right, or the paper doesn't feel right, or compared to these other 100 bills, this one. That one's wrong.
Yeah.
So it's the exact same. Well, what you have to do is you have to train your mind what normal is. So like in Austin, we're in South by. I kind of, as you know, like we got a little bit more traffic. We're talking about it. That is a very casual way of being situationally aware. That's setting up the sample of what is normal. So then when something is off, when something's weird, when something's just a little bit awry, my eye goes from awareness to assessing. I start looking specifically at that thing, that guy that's wearing the white Muslim prayer robes, that's sweating. Like everybody else, they're holding beers or like, hey, here, let's do a selfie. Okay, let's hashtag South by Southwest. Like that's normal. We know that's normal, even though unfortunately that's normal. Yeah. That one thing looks off, and we can see that very clearly because we know what normal is for what's happening around us. So the first thing is kind of learning about cultures, learning about the areas that you're living, the demographics, the socioeconomic classes, the races that should be there. And I do that to everywhere I go. Like I just came from Ocala, Florida. Like that was the last place that I was in. And I know that percentages of races, who should be there with what kinds of cars people should drive. That it's 73% white, and of the remaining 27%, half of them are Mexican, and then the other remaining like 13, 12% are split between Black and Asian. And
where do you get that information? It's not like State Department stuff, Wikipedia?
Yeah, it's on the census.
Yeah.
That's all available online, and it's like one little search. And that's just a couple of quick little numbers so that you can kind of wrap your head around. But if I go to Walmart, I'm going to have a different crowd than if I go to Target, right? 2 different people shop there, different socioeconomic classes, different types of cars are supposed to be parked there. But in the parking lot, where am I going to find the drugs? Where am I going to find the guy that has the guns, the guy that's parked in the back trying to get a blowjob, the guy that's parked around the side of the building where there's no lights and maybe a camera that's busted because he's about to do a drug deal. So just knowing kind of like how people work. Okay, I'm not going to park there.
Right.
I'm going to park here. Like just really simple stuff. So then when I say it's freeing, all of that stuff happens so effortlessly now that now it's just like, I'm just at lunch with my buddy Shane and we're just talking shit about people.
Right.
You know?
And it just happens.
It just happens.
Why did you re-enlist in the Special Forces? The date I have is April 16th, 2017. Why did you re-enlist?
Man, I don't like losing fights.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah, I've lost a few.
Yeah.
And
some close ones too.
they, I mean, they, like a thorn, like a burr in the back of my neck. You know, like they're just always just irritating. And I hope to the day I die that they irritate me. And we're losing a war. You know, I fought in places like Ramadi and Sadr City and Baghdad and Fallujah, and those were cities that like good friends of mine got hurt in, and I was fighting next to Iraqis that wanted freedom so badly. You know, they wanted to have a chance at just living. You know, Muslims, Christians, didn't matter. Just give us a chance, you know? And all of us are fighting together for that chance. And then all those cities that we fought and that we won, ISIS comes in because of policies, because of presidents, because of secretaries of defenses and bad decisions, bad war planning, and we lose ground. And like, I can't explain to you how bad that hurts guys like me to see things that they fought for and they bled for and they got blown up in, just given back to an enemy that's even more evil than the evil that we won it from.
Right.
You know, like I'll take 10 Saddams over an ISIS. And I see Mad Dog Mattis is coming back as Secretary of Defense. And I see not just him, but other people being put into positions of authority within my chain of command that believe in winning. And I like winning. You know, as much as I don't like losing, I like winning. And this was going to be a chance for us to be winning again. You know, in a year, what was the ground that ISIS has had, they have lost 99% of it in 1 year. That's winning.
What do you attribute that to?
To kicking ass.
Okay.
Like, it's plain and simple.
Right.
Like if you take a bunch of pit bulls and you put them in cages and then you let chihuahuas out, like they're never gonna go and you're supposed to be catching wild boars. That chihuahua is never gonna do anything, right? It's gonna bark and then it's gonna run back. But if you open those cages, there's only one thing those pit bulls know how to do is just kick ass. Yeah. And that's all that happened. We're just like, okay, we're gonna go. I saw that you killed some of our Green Berets in Southeast Afghanistan. Cool. We're going to drop the biggest bomb that's not nuclear that we have on our arsenal on top of you, you know, which is what we did. It's like, oh, you killed some Green Berets in Niger. Neat. We're going to fly in 800 shooters and wipe all of Boko Haram, Al-Qaeda, and ISIS off of the map entirely in your country. You know, it's like, oh, you had Fallujah, Sadr City, Ramadi. Not only are we going to take them back, but we're going to take them back and we're going to put conservative Muslim leaders in there that are so far from fanatic radicals that girls get to go back to school. I mean, the things that would just irritate radicals so bad, they have freedom again. And so what I attribute it to is giving the guys that know what they're supposed to do the opportunity to do it. That's it.
How old are you have 2 kids?
I have 3.
You have 3. Mm-hmm. How old are your kids?
16, 15, and 2.
What do you say to them I don't know the nature of the reenlistment in your activities, but if you are going to be at risk, how do you explain the decision and so on to them?
I'm at risk. I'm deploying 2 times in the next year. Like one time really, really, really soon. And I'm glad we got to sit down and chat because I'm going to be gone for like the next year. Yeah. They know that this is what I was made to do, and they love it when I get to do it. They're proud of me in the sense that if they walk onto a military base with me, everybody is walking up to shake my hand. It's different than being in Austin where people want to come up and take selfies. It's like they want to come up and shake my hand because they know what I've done and they know what I'm going to do. And that makes them proud. A 15 and 16-year-old girl, like, that's awesome. A 2-year-old is just like, I have poop in my pants.
right. Different conversation.
Yeah. But he, is he going to understand dad being gone for 6 months? No. He's going to be pissed. He's going to take it out on my wife. My girls they're going to be pissed. But they also know that I would rather be fighting that there than in front of their school. I've tracked down guys that were riding down the street on motorcycles, throwing acid on little girls that were walking to school because they didn't think girls should go to school. I want that to happen nowhere on the planet. And in the places that it does, I want to go there and stop it from happening. Like, I don't want that to be here. That's on a rise in the UK right now. It's increased by almost 1,000% as people trying to prevent girls from going to school, specifically with acid. Okay, send me to the UK. I can fix this. You're not gonna like how I'm gonna do it, but I can fix it.
How do you think about risk? And maybe that's not the right word, but you get deployed. Ostensibly, something bad could happen to you. How do you think about that yourself?
When we're stripped down, you go all the way back to the most raw, exposed version of that special forces soldier, and they start building those cornerstones in the foundation. We are risk adverse. We are trying to set ourselves up for success in every imaginable way, so that we can't fail. And if and when things start failing, there's so much training and there's so much rehearsal and there's so much practice and there's so much strategy and there's so much preparation that quote of, I'm going to be the hardest person somebody ever tries to kill. Imagine fighting 12 of me, or 24 of me, 36 of me.
No thanks.
With an AC-130 flying over us and an F-16 and a couple of Apaches on standby. You're not going to deal with one of me. You're going to deal with me and all of my friends that have been born and bred to do this one thing, which is give people a chance to fight for their freedom. You don't want to fuck with us. We really like that freedom thing.
Do you have a contingency plan for if something happens to you?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah. My family will be very well off. Probably better if financially, but more. My all the guys that we're with, they know. These are horrible conversations to have, and things that I don't want my family to know. But if I break my back or if I'm so badly burnt, to what degree are they going to try to save me? That's a conversation we have. Maybe don't put me on that bird. Maybe just let me die right here, But that's a conversation for me and my friends.
Right.
I've had dudes be like, all right, listen, all I want you to do is take my cell phone, smash it on the ground, go take my laptop, smash that on the ground, and then make sure my body goes to my wife, which is funny. But these are conversations that we have, and everybody's is different, but as a team, sure as shit, I'm going to make sure that dude's I'm not only going to smash his laptop, I'm probably going to microwave it and then I'm going to throw it in the ocean,
right?
Or the river or, the Tigris. So, yes, we have contingencies.
If you could put one word, question, short message, anything on a billboard just to get it out to millions or billions of people, metaphorically speaking, what might you put on such a billboard?
One word?
No. It could be one word. It could be a sentence. It could be a question. It could be anything. It could be a long quote that you like. It could be anything.
I just want people to work. We're in a society of a culture of entitlement where it's like everybody wants the fast, easy, quick fix for everything. You know, like, oh, I'm sick, give me a prescription. You know, like I'm fat, give me that quick, easy diet. I'm not successful at work, just give me that promotion, even though I deserve it. Like everything is just on the far side of hard work. So that's what I'd put. Everything you want is on the far side of work. You know, like freedom. The only place freedom exists is on the far side of hard work. The only place success exists financially, sexually, in relationships, emotionally, it's on the far side of work. Like if you want a good marriage, fucking work for it. You know, you want to have amazing sex, cool, work for it. You know, like unless you're this fictional character and you're like, well, I don't even know the movies, like Dirt Diggler, right?
Dirt Diggler.
Was that based on a real guy? Like, was he even good at sex? You're like, I don't know. But I guess I'll tell you what, somebody that really wants and is committed to being good at it is going to be good at it.
Yeah.
You know, and like that goes for everything. Success, sleep, even sleep. Like you want good sleep? Earn it. Go work for it. You know, like put your iPad away. Go eat a good, healthy dinner. Work hard all day long for 12 hours and play with your kids and sweat and fuck your wife. You know, give her 15 orgasms so you fall over into bed and you just pass out for 8 hours. That's some good sleep right there. You know, like, so on the far side of hard work.
Everything you want is on the far side of hard work. We could keep going for hours and hours and hours. And I think that I was going to say we should do a round 2, but it might be a year from now. I'm okay with that.
I'll be like when I come back from combat,
Yeah.
because like you're such a, like right now we're like having these not existential conversations, but we're kind of getting philosophically projecting what would be doing or billboards of inspiration. Like I'll be a raw asshole in a year from now after being overseas for, you know. Yeah.
Well,
Open invitation. I'll talk anytime.
Yeah, different conversation.
Yeah, probably.
But where can people learn more about you? What would you like them to check out? And where can they do that?
Freedom's awesome. So believe in it and go vote for it. And then you can find me, Tim Kennedy MMA is me for everything. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I try to get like on there a lot. I am pretty exposed. So if you want to, like, this is not you'll get a very honest conversation out of me.
Yeah.
in every way, probably to too much of a degree.
Are there any websites you'd like people to take a look at, or anything you'd like people to look up?
Sheepdog Response is you know, like our motto is make you harder to kill. And we're trying to make people, you know, the A and the B, keeping blood in the good and letting blood out of the bad. We're trying to teach people how to do that. Ranger Up is one of my companies. We make satire military shirts and jeans and Woobie shoes. I mean, they're like, well, I'm an entrepreneur like you know, but it's just go work for freedom. You know, I'll work for my companies. I'll work for my wealth. I'll work for my everything. I'll work for my freedom. You know, you go work for yours.
Dig it. Tim, thank you so much for taking the time. And everybody listening, everybody watching, we'll provide links to everything we've talked about as per usual in the show notes. So tim.blog/podcasts for this episode, every other episode. And until next time, work hard. It matters. And thank you for listening, and thank you for watching.